Welcome to the Nation of History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. A survivor of the Hiroshima explosion displays the scars on his back with the ruins of the atomic bomb dome in the background in Japan. An African girl is photographed inside a human exhibition in Belgium in 1958 during the Brussels World's Fair. These exhibitions recreated African villages and placed real people in staged environments to be observed by the public. A German communist militant faces his executioners moments before being shot in Munich, Germany in 1919. The scene took place during the conflicts that followed the end of World War I, when the Bavarian Soviet Republic was briefly proclaimed. Father Luis Padilla is seen protecting and holding an injured soldier while looking back towards a shooter during a confrontation in the streets of San Salvador, El Salvador in the early 1960s. German soldiers sing around a Christmas tree on the Eastern Front during World War I between 1914 and 1918. The scene shows a moment of respite amidst the intense fighting between German and Russian forces. A girl holds her doll amid the rubble after a bombing in London in 1940 during World War II. The city was heavily hit during the German air campaign known as the Blitz, which took place between September 1940 and May 1941. Two human skeletons were discovered embracing in an ancient tomb dated to approximately 2,800 years ago. The image, known as the longest kiss, was captured during archaeological excavations and moved the world. Two Ainu women with lip tattoos are depicted in northern Japan in 1890. The Ainu people are an indigenous group living in the Hokkaido region and parts of Russia. A British soldier says goodbye to his family at a train station during World War II around 1940 in the United Kingdom. He reaches out to his young daughter while his wife and older son watch with serious expressions. A migrant worker walks along a road in the United States during the Great Depression between 1929 and the late 1930s. A man holds a sign in protest in front of a bank that refuses to release his money during the Great Depression in 1932 in the United States. At that time, thousands of banks failed, and many citizens lost their savings overnight. The RMS Titanic is docked at the port of Southampton, England in 1912, just before starting its maiden voyage to New York. Considered the largest and most luxurious ocean liner of its time, the Titanic departed on April 10th with over 2,000 passengers on board. A Spitfire Mark VII from the 41st Squadron flies over Eastbourne in East Sussex on April 12, 1944. The aircraft, identified as EBB, was piloted by Flight Lieutenant Don Smith, an Australian veteran who had fought in the Siege of Malta. An Army doctor feeds baby birds while serving in the 8th Armored Medical Unit during World War II. The scene, recorded between 1944 and 1945, shows a rare moment of tenderness amid the conflict. An American soldier poses next to his pet kangaroo at an Allied forward base in the Pacific in 1942 during World War II. Navy Sergeant Frank Prater feeds an orphaned kitten he adopted during the Korean War around 1952. The widely publicized image at the time shows a moment of compassion amid the conflict. Russian soldiers prepare for the Battle of Kursk in July 1943 in what would become one of the largest tank battles in history. The gardens of the Tower of London were transformed into community gardens during World War II as part of the British Dig for Victory campaign. A German Heinkel He-111G3 aircraft from the Flugzeugführerschule B-34 unit, Pilot School 34, landed in a snow-covered area on the outskirts of Copenhagen, Denmark, during the winter of 1943. American soldiers display an experimental camouflage uniform developed in 1917 during World War I. Camouflage was a new concept at the time, inspired by techniques used by artists and military observers. Couples say goodbye at a train station as soldiers board for World War II between 1939 and 1945. Scenes like this were common in many countries, marked by silent embraces, promises, and uncertainties. Architect Minoru Yamasaki and his team posed next to a model of the World Trade Center in New York in 1964. The project, developed in the 1960s, called for the construction of two twin towers that would become iconic symbols of the city's skyline. A worker is helped out of the interior of a 15-inch BL cannon after finishing the rifling cleaning at the Coventry Ordnance Works Factory, England, in 1914. A group of friends enjoys themselves while posing for a photograph in 1900, at a time when the photographic process was time-consuming and required people to remain still for several seconds. Female athletes compete in the hurdles race during the Olympic Games held in Paris, France. D-Day veterans sit in a military airplane, recreating the same position they were in during the operation that dropped them over Normandy on June 6, 1944. King George VI is photographed smiling and visibly excited as he enjoys an amusement park ride in the 1930s in the United Kingdom. Filmmaker Alfred Hitchcock poses dressed as Ringo Starr, the drummer of the Beatles, in 1964. The image was taken as part of a publicity stunt, reflecting the huge success of the British band that year. Workers build the pedestal of the Statue of Liberty in New York, United States, in 1885. The base was raised on Liberty Island to support the monument, which was a gift from France to celebrate the friendship between the two countries. Construction workers take a lunch break sitting on the edge of a building under construction in London in 1929. Without visible safety equipment, they balance at great heights, reflecting the common conditions of construction sites at the time. The Pilgrim airship, the first blimp from Goodyear, is used as the Santa Claus Express in Akron, Ohio, in 1925. This was the company's first airship to be used for promotional and light transport purposes. Crew members of a stranded trawler are evacuated on the coast of England around 1910. Fishing vessels, such as trawlers, operated in rough seas and faced constant risks due to severe weather and the technological limitations of the time. Albert Einstein is seen moments before taking his famous photo with his tongue sticking out on March 14, 1951. The image was taken as he left his 72nd birthday party at Princeton University in the United States. The famous Hollywood sign, located in the hills of Los Angeles, California, originally appeared with the name Hollywoodland in the 1920s. It was installed in 1923 as part of a promotional campaign to advertise a new real estate development in the area. Women march in defense of voting rights in 1913 during one of the major suffragist demonstrations in the United States. Albert Einstein rests on a lounge chair by the Baltic Sea in 1928. Known for his contributions to theoretical physics, such as the theory of relativity, Einstein also valued moments of tranquility away from academic centers. A woman known as a knocker-up walks through the streets with a long pole to wake factory workers in the early 1900s in the United Kingdom. Before the popularization of alarm clocks, This was a common service in industrial cities. Members of the Kendall Green Bicycle Club pose with their bicycles in 1884 in the United States. The group represents the early cycling enthusiasts at a time when high-wheel bicycles, known as penny farthings, were becoming popular. The tradition of Mari Lwyd is recorded in the village of Llangenweed, Wales in 1910. This ancient Christmas celebration involves a figure with a decorated horse's head, usually made from a real skull, covered with a white cloth and colorful ornaments. A man dressed as Santa Claus distributes donations on the streets of Chicago around 1912, in a scene that is both charitable and a little unsettling. An athlete performs a high jump during the London Olympic Games in 1908. At that time, the most common technique was the scissors jump before the Fosbury flop style, which would only become popular decades later. Jesse Owens is photographed during the 1936 Olympic Games in Berlin, Germany. Representing the United States, Owens won 4 gold medals in athletics events: 100 meters, 200 meters, long jump, and 4 by 100 meters relay. A milk delivery cart circulates near the city of Cambridge in Great Britain around the 1910s. The transport is horse-drawn and carries large metal cans used to deliver fresh milk directly to households. British archaeologist Howard Carter examines the mummy of Pharaoh Tutankhamun in 1922 in the Valley of the Kings, Egypt. After years of excavations, Carter discovered the almost intact tomb of the young pharaoh, who reigned around 1332 BC. Iron Breast, a man from the Piegan Nation, is photographed in 1900 wearing traditional ceremonial attire. An Oglala warrior named Red Hawk offers water to his horse in the Badlands of North Dakota around 1905. The Oglala are one of the Lakota groups that are part of the Sioux Nation, with a strong presence in the Great Plains of the United States. A Native American child poses with their dog in 1910. The photo was taken at a time when photographers traveled through indigenous territories to capture traditions, clothing, and daily life of Native communities. A man listens to music on a phonograph for the first time in 1922, wearing traditional fur clothing in an Arctic region. The environment is surrounded by hanging firs, indicating a hunting and preservation location. The Wells Fargo Express office in Cisco, California, is shown in operation around 1870. Located in the Sierra Nevada mountains, Cisco was an important railroad stop during the westward expansion of the United States. The Pilgrim airship, the first blimp from Goodyear, is used as the Santa Claus Express in Akron, Ohio, in 1925. This was the company's first airship to be used for promotional and light transport purposes. 4 men pose in front of the Sandbar Saloon along the Canadian River in Oklahoma around the 1890s. The simple wooden structure was typical of Old West saloons, which served as social gathering spots. A view of the ruins of the White House, built by the ancestral Pueblo people, also known as Anasazi, in Canyon de Chelly, Arizona, in 1873. Participants gathered to compete in the National Space Invaders Championship, hosted by Atari in 1980 in the United States. It was the first large-scale video game tournament in history, attracting over 10,000 players. King Frederick IX of Denmark displays his tattoos between 1946 and 1950 in a rare informal moment for a European monarch. A technician performs maintenance on electromechanical telephone switches in the Telephone Exchange Building located on East 80th Street in New York in 1938. Gertrude walks the tightrope at the Brockton Fair, Massachusetts in 1908. Dressed in typical circus performer attire of the time, she performs in front of an audience at a popular outdoor entertainment event. A man is displayed in public with a sign hanging around his neck in Times Square, New York, in 1955, as a form of punishment and public humiliation. Players compete in a game of American football in 1920 in the United States. Wearing leather helmets and rudimentary gear, the athletes played a sport that was already intense but still in the process of regulation and modernization. A traffic officer from the Los Angeles Police Department poses next to his motorcycle in 1930. Dressed in the traditional uniform of the time, including tall boots, helmet, and goggles, he represents the beginning of motorized patrols on the city's streets. A Sikorsky R-5 helicopter from the United States Army is tested in Bridgeport, Connecticut on January 10, 1946, during a lift capability demonstration. A young woman watches as the tire of her car is changed in Southeast Washington, United States, around 1940. At that time, cars were less automated and required frequent maintenance. A mother cares for her child in a moment of tranquility and hope for a new beginning in 1937. A horse is seen inside the Castle Dale Saloon in Utah, United States in 1905. In small towns of the Old West, it was common for horses to be brought to the door, and sometimes even inside establishments like saloons. A man proudly shows the chrome grille of his car in 1957, reflecting the distinctive automotive style of the decade. March 1941, Norfolk, Virginia. A boy leans against a heating pipe in the hallway of a public school, reflecting the overcrowding experienced in naval cities during the period of military mobilization in the United States. A street scene in Vicksburg, Mississippi in 1936. The photograph shows 1930s cars lined along the street with pedestrians walking between historic buildings. Young people chat and spend time sitting at the entrance of a local grocery store in Connecticut, United States, in July 1949. The photograph, captured by Gordon Parks, captures an everyday moment of post-war American life. A primitive model of an unmanned aerial vehicle is displayed in the 1910s, considered one of the first concepts of drones in history. These experimental devices were primarily designed for military purposes, or is it just a pigeon with a camera? Anthony Perkins poses smiling alongside two women on the set of the movie Psycho in 1960. The image was taken in front of the iconic Bates family house, built specifically for the production at Universal Studios. Raymond Mays drives a Bugatti during the hill climb event at Shelsley Walsh, Wales in 1924. Considered one of the pioneers of British motorsport, Mays excelled in speed racing and later founded the ERA team. Richard Gere poses next to a car under maintenance in San Bernardino, California in 1979. The image was taken during a break from filming one of his early movies, at a time when his career was beginning to gain prominence in Hollywood. Before the use of GPS, drivers in the Netherlands could get directions through a direct navigation line, as shown in this 1963 image. The service allowed people to call an operator who would consult detailed maps. A Santa Claus walks down Houston Street in New York in 1962. Dressed in the traditional red suit, he spreads smiles while interacting with pedestrians amidst the city's urban hustle. A demonstration of the cantilever principle of the Firth of Forth Bridge is held in Great Britain in 1887 especially for a lecture at the Royal Institution. Portrait of a Polynesian woman around 1900. The image shows the cultural traits and typical clothing of the South Pacific Islands, such as Tahiti, Samoa, or Hawaii, in a period before intense Western influence. March 1942, Helena, Montana. The Marlowe Theater sign advertises the movies showing Sullivan's Travels and Paris Calling. A photograph of one of the rarest artifacts ever found near the city of Samarkand in present-day Uzbekistan during an excavation conducted by German archaeologists in 1903. The Citroën DS19 is displayed at the Triennale in Milan in 1957, standing out as an icon of 20th century automotive design. Models pose in swimsuits in California in 1945 by a rocky, sunny beach. The swimsuits of the time reflect post-war fashion, with more body-hugging cuts, wide straps, and feminine details, marking the beginning of the transition to bolder styles. The Café Parisien aboard the Titanic, photographed in 1912, was one of the ship's most elegant spaces, reserved for first-class passengers. Grace Kelly and Frank Sinatra are seen together in 1956 during the filming of the feature film High Society. The interior of Wanamaker's department store in New York in 1920. Known for its elegance and innovation, Wanamaker's was one of the first major stores to offer a complete shopping experience with elaborate window displays. Women compete for a ball during a beach game in the 1930s in a scene that captures the leisure and vitality of the interwar period. Steven Seagal is seen in the early years of his career in the mid-1970s. Before becoming an action movie star, Seagal lived in Japan, where he trained in martial arts like Aikido and became one of the first Westerners to run a dojo. Movie actress Faye Webb poses with her pet goose in 1925, wearing an elegant pair of round glasses, typical of the fashion of the decade. Father and son pose with their motorcycles on a street in Paris, France in 1951. The father is on a large Rudge motorcycle, while the serious and focused boy is mounted on a small custom motorcycle with the initials F3 and RZ. Bora Washington poses with a catfish she caught in the Colorado River in Bastrop, Texas in the 1950s. The image depicts a typical moment of American rural life, where fishing was both a leisure activity and a source of food for many families. A young woman consults a card catalog in a library in the 1970s, an essential system for locating books and information before the digital age. A group of gentlemen has fun in an animated snowball fight in the tranquil and majestic Trafalgar Square in London in the winter of 1931. President Harry Truman greets artist Pablo Picasso in Vallauris, France in 1958. Truman, who had left the presidency of the United States in 1953, was visiting Europe privately when he met the renowned Spanish painter. Workers work on the assembly line of the Volkswagen Beetle at the Wolfsburg factory, Germany, in 1938. The model, initially called the Volkswagen Type 1, was designed as an affordable car for German families. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.